Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture 2 of week 4 of our course Metrics and Analytics of Marketing. In the last class we discussed in detail regarding the customer segmentation process. In today's lectures we will be discussing in detail regarding one of the customer segmentation technique which is called the RFM Customer Segmentation. Basically RFM stands for recency, frequency and monetary value. By the end of this session you will be able to explain what RFM is all about, and then how to calculate and score the RFM framework, and how to apply it step by step, understand its limitations and see a powerful real world enhancement in action. So let us dive in. As I said, RFM stands for recency, frequency and monetary value. It is a behavioral segmentation method that ranks and groups customers based on the 3 dimensions of the past transactions or past behavior. Recency talks about how recently did a customer buy a product or a brand. Frequency talks about how often do they buy. And then monetary value talks about how much do they spend in an average transaction. This is simple yet powerful framework that helps businesses identify their best customers, spot those at risk of transition and prioritize the marketing efforts efficiently. The RFM segments are often labeled as champions, loyal customers, at risk customer, lost customers and new customers. So, we will try to understand each of this terminology as we dive into this session. First, let us understand the concept of recency. So, what is recency? It measures how recently a customer has transacted with a brand. It is typically calculated as the number of days or the months since their last purchase. Why does recency matter so much? The main reason is that it is the strongest predictor of future behavior. Customers who bought recently are far more likely to respond to your next offer or to your next marketing appeal as compared to somebody who bought, let us say, 2 years back. A customer who purchased 5 days ago has a high recency value. One customer who bought, let us say, 500 days ago, he has a low recency value. In the context of a retail industry, recency often reflects the current engagement and the attention span. A smaller recency value indicates that it is a hot lead. Then we will dive into the next component, which is frequency. Frequency counts how often a customer purchases within a defined period of time. Usually the defined period of time can be, let us say, a month or it can be a year. High frequency indicates that there is a habit formed, there is a trust built and there is a brand loyalty. These customers have integrated your product into their lives. They are purchasing the product or the brand frequently. They are probably the most valuable customer for your company. If they are purchasing the product frequently, you do not need to incur the recurring customer acquisition cost. They are your loyal customer. So, the benefits, the value that you can derive from them is much higher as compared to a newly acquired customer. One example is, let us say a customer who buys coffee from the same chain 5 times a week is having a high frequency. One who buys, let us say, once in a year is having a low frequency. As I said that frequent buyers are cheaper to retain and often they become advocates of your brand. This is an additional benefit associated with the frequent buyers. They are likely to spread positive word of mouth about your brand and that will percolate the brand awareness, that will percolate the more attention from their peer groups, and this is a continuous process. So, it helps the business in surviving even in a complex situation for a longer period of time. Let us dive into the next component, last component of RFM matrix, which is the monetary value. It measures the total amount a customer has spent in the same observation period. If the observation period is for one month, what is the amount spent by the customer? If it is for 1 year, what is the spend the customer made over all the transaction in the last year? Example can be, let us say a customer who is spending 1 lakh rupees in a year is has a high monetary value as compared to a customer, let us say, who is spending only 2000 rupees in a year. We need to understand the fact that sometimes the companies use the average order value instead of the total spend, depending on the business model, depending on the calculation method that they are using for their customer lifetime value derivation. Now, let us have a look at the steps associated in the RFM customer segmentation. It starts with the data collection phase. Data collection means gathering the transaction data per customer. So we can gather data such as the order date, order ID, customer ID, and order value. Most of the companies pull this data from their customer relationship management software or from some other data warehouses. The next step is the scoring. Scoring means assigning a score based on their purchase behavior in this 3 dimension of recency, frequency, and monetary value. Most of the time in practice, the RFM values lies between 1 to 5, where 5 indicates a higher value and 1 indicates a lower value. If you have purchased a product recently, very recently, probably you will score a value of 5 in terms of recency. We can visualize it from this example that somebody has purchased a product, let us say yesterday, and another customer has purchased the product, let us say 500 days back. So the person who purchased the product yesterday will have a score of 5, and the person who purchased the product 500 days back will have a score of 1. Similarly, we will do for frequency and the monetary value. Then we will come up with 3 value metrics. For each of these customers, we will assign 3 scores. It can be 555, it can be 535, it can be 511, it can be 111. The person who is having the 555, they are the hotspot customers, they are the most valuable customers for the organization. And the person having a score of 1111 is the probably they are hibernated customers, they are of no value as of now, as of the current dynamics of the business is concerned. So basically, if we score between 1 to 5, we will come up with 125 combinations, and based on these values, probably in practice the companies group similar sales into, let us say, 8 to 12 meaningful segments like the champions. Champions are basically those customers who are scoring high in terms of all the dimensions, 5 in recency, 5 in frequency, and 5 in monetary value. And then they can be at risk customers, they can be hibernated customers, let us say, who are scoring 1 in recency, 1 in frequency, and 1 in monetary value. There can be a concept of new customers. New customers means in terms of recency they are scoring 5, but let us say in terms of frequency and monetary value, frequency they are scoring, let us say, 1, and in terms of monetary value it can be x. 51x means the monetary value can be of any amount. So this is the, based on this, probably we will have to adopt different marketing strategies in order to create more value from different categories of customers. For champions, we can adopt a strategy like we will extend some loyalty bonus to them, we will provide them with some extra services, and let us say for a new customers, what we will try to get them more engaged with the brand. So this kind of strategies can be embedded in order to attain more value, in order to achieve more value for future transactions. This basically then comes this segmentation stage, where group the customers based on their composite RFM score. So basically what we are dividing into let's say 12 categories. So we now know what is the behavior of each of this category, and probably we can come up with specific and personalized marketing strategies for each of these categories. Next one is the targeted messaging. We will make the communication separately. We will come up with separate communication message in order to make better appeal for each of these segments, because our expectation from each of these segments are different. For a person who is scoring 555, our expectation is to retain them. For a person who is scoring let's say 51x, our expectation is that we need to get this person engaged with our brand more frequently, so that we can convert him or her into the 555 category, champion category. So for different categories of customers, we have different expectations. Then we can have a look at one of the example. Score, if it is 5 across all the dimensions, then it is potential. They are our most valued customers. If it is let's say 4, we consider them as promising customers. If it is 3, we can't lose them. They are our, I mean we can groom them. 2, they are at risk. They are likely to transit from our company, they are likely to switch from our brand. And 1 is like we have already lost those customers, they are in hibernation, we do not have any trace of those customers. Finally, all the customers are provided with the scores like 555, 554 or 111. The customers with the score of 555 can be called the potential customers of the company, since they are likely to give more profit to the company, and vice versa, and goes with the customers having the low score of 111, who are basically the lost customers. Depending on this RFM score, each customers can be put into different segment. So once we can put each of these customers in different segment, now we have a clear idea about what to do with them, what message we need to communicate to them. So that is why the RFM matrix becomes extremely important. Now we will talk about the benefits of RFM segmentation. First benefit is the general benefit of segmentation, that is improved customer segmentation. RFM segmentation is a behavioral type of segmentation. It does not work under any assumption, it works under actual behavior of the customers. So this is realistic given the fact that business dynamics remain the same. There is no major change in the external business macro environment. Next comes the personalized marketing. As we already said that RFF segmentation divide the customers let's say into 10 or 12 categories, starting from champion to lost customers to at risk customer. Now we understand each of these categories very clearly. We also know what is the message that needs to be propagated to each of this category. So now only thing that is left is the implementation. We can just come up with a communication strategy in order to take the message to the segment. Next benefit that comes as a part of RFM segmentation is the customer retention. We can, the person who has purchased the product recently, we know that we just need to make the communication. Is if he has purchased the product recently, probably recently and frequently, probably he is still satisfied customers. We may not require to extend any monetary rewards to them. We just need to get engaged with them and keep creating value from them. Next one is the efficient resource allocation. Probably we will shift all our efforts from the segment of lost customers to the segment of promising customers, to the segment of new customers. So, we can optimize on our monetary resources, we can optimize on our marketing efforts. Lost customers are basically gone customers, it's a lost case, we cannot do anything about them now. So, what is the point of spending more money, what is the point of putting more effort on them? Rather, I will concentrate more on my new customers and my champions. Next comes increased sales and revenues. This is a benefit of segmentation. We can convert the new customers as a champion over a period of time with certain marketing initiatives. So, they will create more revenue for the organization. They will increase the sales to a significant extent. And this last benefit associated with the RFM segmentation is the enhanced customer understanding. This is related to customer behavior. It is not working under assumption or it is not working under any theory. It is working under actual customer behavior. So, if we get the access to actual customer behavior, then definitely we have a better understanding about those customers. Though RFM is extensively used by various companies, especially the e-commerce companies nowadays, there are certain limitations. First limitation associated with RFM is it considers only the transactional data. As I said that it is a behavioral segmentation. It does not take into consideration the demographic variables, it does not take into consideration the geographic variables, it does not take into consideration the important variable which can be a psychographic variables. So, these are the limitation of RFM matrix. Then it is limited to only 3 variables: recency, frequency and monetary value. There are multiple other variables, sometimes too simplistic for a complex business dynamics. Next limitation is static and retrospective. Why it is static? It looks only at the past behavior. It does not account for the changing circumstances in the external macro environment. Why past behavior happened? Is because of an external environment. Now, if we do not take into consideration the external environment, then what will be our current behavior is extremely difficult to predict. It lacks the predictive power. What RFM matrix can tell us is what happened. It cannot necessarily tell what will happen next. So, it is it lacks the predictive power of future behavior. Next demerits associated with RFM matrix is the potential for human error. Arbitrary cutoffs for scoring can bias the result. Somebody might put it a score of 1 to 5, somebody might put a score of 1 to 10 depending on the circumstances. If it is arbitrary in nature, then probably the interpretation is difficult. Then last limitation is the homogeneity assumption of homogeneity. It assumes all customers with the same RFM score behave similarly, which may not hold true across channels and across different seasons. Because of this, many modern companies enhance or replace the basic RFM with the machine learning models or some hybrid models. So, the different tools that can be used to improve the RFM model is the RFM tool, reveal, push wash. Analytical and data science, it can be an Excel, it can be a Python, it can be a Optimove. And from market automation perspective, it is the tool is the Braze, right. So, these are the different tools that is used to implement the RFM matrix. Remember, the RFM matrix may not be a standalone solution. Sometimes depending on the complexity of the business, depending on the industry, nature of the industry, you need to improve the RFM matrix with certain other techniques. Benefits of RFM in CRM and retention. What does it do? It improves the targeting and personalization. It also helps in prioritization of the customer relationship management efforts. It has the potential to enhance the customer experience because we have a better understanding about our segments. It has the potential to increase the revenue and marketing return on investment. And the most important aspect, most important benefit of RFM in customer relationship management is that it can actually press the alarm button when there is a possibility of churn. You can keep a customer when he or she is in the process of dissatisfaction. But once the customer has decided to churn out, switch to another brand, it is extremely difficult to keep that customer. So, that is why it is important to understand what are the various red flags for the customers. How do I diagnose that this is the potential customer who has a potential to switch to another brand? If we can rectify something, if we can intervene something at that particular point of time, then there is a possibility that we can retain a significant number of customers. Let us now look at the case study of Digicala e-commerce, which is based in Middle East. The company Digicala, largest e-commerce platform in the Middle East. What was the challenge that it was facing? A static RFM segmentation failed to capture the changing customer behavior, leading to inefficient marketing. Then what did they do? They put something top of the RFM, R plus FM model with k-means clustering to dynamically segment the users. So, if you put RFM along with other robust methods, then it is likely to give you better results. Enhance RFM methodology or enhance RFM framework, that is R plus FM. Recency adjusted for business seasonality and market shifts. So, it is also taking into consideration the external environment now. Frequency and monetary value, standard matrix with spend or visit normalization. Slight improvement in the matrix, slight improvement in the framework depending on the business context. So, this has a potential to improve the overall performance of the customer satisfaction. K-means clustering, optimal cluster determined via elbow method, where k is put as equal to 5. K5 means we are generating 5 clusters. The input variables were normalized R plus FM scores and the control group testing was done, compared against the traditional RFM customer quantile method. So, basically once we improve this RFM matrix, this case study says that it improved the overall performance of the business. There was an improvement in terms of customer retention, there was an improvement in terms of revenue growth of the organization. So, this is the power of behavioral segmentation based on RFM matrix. But as we discussed that there are limitations in place. If we can work on the limitations and depending on the context where the limitation exists, and we can put some rectified methodology in place along with the RFM, then there is a higher chance of getting better results. So, I will conclude this session by stating that RFM analysis remains one of the most effective approaches to identify and prioritize high value customer based on their transactional behavior. I will see you in the next class with a different topic. Thank you very much.